Don't you want a good life? I mean, sino bang hindi, di ba? Pero syempre, bago tayo magkaroon ng good life, kailangan muna nating alamin kung ano to, in a certain definition and in its concept. Well, actually, yun yung ginawa ni Socrates sa kanyang time in Athens with the Athenians. Challenge na yung mga assumption ng mga Athenians kung ano ba talaga yung good life. And since marami nagsasabi sa kanya, ito ang definition ko, ito ang definition ko, binibreakdown ni Socrates yung sa harap nila, and therefore, napapaisip mga tao, tama ba talaga yung naging definition ko ng good life? Is a good life full of luxury? Or a good life, a life full of compassion, sympathy, and empathy? Or maybe even both? Kasi the reason down for breaking down these concepts is because meron tayong tinatawag na good assumptions and bad assumptions. And pag di mo bin-break down at pag di mo binusisi ng maayos yung mga concepts na iniisip mo, you can be this close to creating a bad assumption which can lead to a not so good life. Well, yun actually ang ginawa ni Easy Grayling sa kanyang discussion na papakita ko sa inyo dito. Sabi ni Easy Grayling na pagkausap niya ang mga students niya, lagi nilang kaklarify mga definitions nila. Tulad ng ginawa ni Socrates. Kasi definition is a very vital aspect in philosophy. Hence, what a good life is and how a world can affect the ways in which we perceive what a good life is. So to further the discussion, a good life isn't simply a carefree life where one would simply comply to morals present norms. Kasi it is important to keep in mind that ethics is very much different from morals. Living ethically wouldn't mean that you're also living morally and vice versa. Kasi ethics is like, in which character do you want to be? Do I want to be this character? Do I want to have this personality? While morals are a more restricting manner. So kumbaga, simply put, ang morals ay something that is moralized by a higher government or a higher authority like a certain government, a monarchy, or a religion. Kasi ang sinasabi ng moralization, kung ayaw ko to, dapat ayaw mo rin. At ganun na nangyayari sa ating society, wherein morals have occurred and directed the lives of our communities through generations. And with that being said, a good life is something or is a life that is full of flourishing and full of achievement with the occasional treading over others. Kasi hindi natin may iwasan na sa pag-achieve natin ng achievements and a life of flourishing, hindi natin may iwasan na makaapak ng ibang tao. So therefore, we have to be conscious sa mga ginagawa natin. Moreover, dahil sa uniqueness natin bilang tao at dahil hindi tayo pare-pareho, in compliance to present moral norms doesn't mean that you are not living a good life. And yun yung i-breakdown natin pa later on. Well, it is undeniable that moral compliance will help us a lot in achieving a good life full of flourishing and full of achievement. Pero tulad nga ng sinabi ko kanina, there is no one-size-fits-all kind of life. Sabi ko kanina na everyone is unique in their own ways. We all have our different talents, skills, and limitations. Kaya certain morals do not apply to everyone. Kaya nagkakaroon tayo ng moral incompliance because of our own uniqueness. And while it is important to be conscious of other people's feelings while attempting to achieve a good life, we shouldn't be oversensitive naman. Kasi we do not have direct access to other people's lives other than our own lives and the lives of the people closest to us, like our friends and families. And we can only do as much by being thoughtful of others. Kasi by being thoughtful of others, we are able to observe the decisions they make and how they handle the situations that they are in. And from that, we can reflect from what they do, we can reflect that into our lives and reapply those. This is why actually the Enlightenment in being thoughtful is very much interested in literature. Kasi in literature, you're able to read stories and you're able to live the lives of the characters that you encounter. And from that, nagkakaroon ka ng parang self-reflection doon sa mga ginagawa niya, and nagkakaroon ka ng feedback sa sarili mo kung paano mo ba siya i-apply sa buhay mo. Isang magandang halimbawa ang Pride and Prejudice, wherein we have these characters Elizabeth Bennet and Darcy the Prince. Noong una, they dislike each other very very much. Kasi on Elizabeth's point of view, ayaw niya kay Prince Darcy kasi he thinks that he is very snobbish and very standoffish. While doon naman sa point of view ni Darcy the Prince, he dislikes Elizabeth kasi her mother is very very vulgar. Kaya gine-generalize niya sa pamilya niya yon. Parang sinasabi na dahil vulgar yung mother ni Elizabeth, vulgar na rin si Elizabeth mismo. From doon, nakikita natin yung pagiging thoughtful nila in the sense na nakikita nila yung situations ng ibang tao aside from theirs. And kaya naman nabanggit ko to kasi despite being forced to live in a world that is full of constrictions and constrictive morals, nakukuha pa rin mag-prevail ang human nature, the nature to observe, apply uniqueness in our own individual ways. Kasi all of the unique capabilities that each person possesses, we can make a choice from that. And from that choice, nagkakaroon tayo ng considered life which we can make our own and therefore have a good life.
Do you ever wonder what kind of world are we living in today? When we open our phones, televisions, and even radio these days, the only thing we see and hear is about the pandemic, the ever-increasing number of cases, the plight of our fellow citizens who are barely scraping by each day. It is very tough to find a good thing these days, a reason to hope that we are living a good life. With all of this, it is very easy to conclude that life is indeed challenging. But does the fact that life is difficult imply that the world is inherently evil? According to A.C. Grayling, our world can be regarded as a bad world. Why is that, right? Because our world is associated with many things that contribute to people suffering and make them believe that life is bad and difficult. The first on the list is natural evil, such as natural disasters like typhoons, hurricanes, earthquakes, fires, and even tsunamis. The second one is aging diseases or even some illnesses that are out of our control, such as the pandemic. The third is hatred and tension between people, which when escalated can turn into human wrongdoing such as murders, rapes, and other illegal actions. The fourth one is we can see the differences in beliefs as the root of disputes in conflict zones such as the Muslim countries where war is very prevalent. And finally, we can see competition over natural resources because people are inherently greedy, such as how China is continuously targeting the West Philippine Sea. Sadly, this is the kind of world we are living in. Such a bad place, but if we think carefully, most of our world's bad aspects are caused by humans, right? Life is full of meaning and joy if and only if we humans do our part to make our world a better place. But the real question is, how can we make our world suited for a good life?
May I ask you, how does one define good life?
According to popular belief, there are 4 ways to live a good life. This type of practice and way of life can help to make the world more bearable and less evil. First on the list is living a moral life. So what is a moral life? From the word moral, meaning that it is concerned with principles of right and wrong, the goodness or evilness of human character. In choosing to live this life, a person must be honest, trustworthy, kind, selfless, generous, helpful, loyal, and just. However, is there really a person who possesses all of the said qualities? You're right. There isn't. Even me, I'm not this kind of person. At some point in our lives, we also lied, became unkind, have shown selfishness, refused to give, chose to not help, cheated, and did what is wrong. Glaucon had divided good things into three classes. Things good in themselves, good both in themselves and for their consequences, and things good only for their consequences. In choosing to live a moral life, one must exhibit justice and fairness, and so we should live doing things that are good both in themselves and for their consequences, because we are trying to live a moral life, morally good life. I know that this isn't easy. Although this is difficult, according to Plato in his work The Republic, where he mentioned the ring of Gyges, that evil is greater than the good, and to do injustices is by nature good. That we people are only doing good things because we are afraid of its consequences. And if by chance we're given this anonymity where we can do anything we want without the aftermath of suffering from its consequences, we are all going to commit injustices in this world. But since we are people guided by our morals, we are not going to do what is wrong. We'll always pursue to do the right thing and do what is good for other people. Lastly, according to Plato, morally good people enjoy inner harmony and virtuous people will be rewarded. Let us not be easily swayed by our inner desires and choose to live a moral good life.
On the other hand, meron din tayong tinatawag na life of pleasure. And napaka-prominent na life of pleasure doon sa isang analytical essay ni Carol Gilligan, wherein sinite niya doon yung theories na nag-start kay David McClelland, which states that sex is a very important aspect in depicting human behavior. And that in fact that the women's behavior, which is being interdependent, is actually a deviation of the men's behavior of being independent. And pinalawak pa ito lalo ni Martina Horner sa kanyang findings, which states that women had anxiety towards competitive achievement. And it all goes back to David McClelland, kung saan kinonceptualize niya ang achievement motivation into three different parts, two of which are experienced by men and the last one being experienced by women, which is proposed further by Martina Horner. For our first concept, we have the motive to approach success. For the second, we have the motive to avoid failure, which is both upheld and experienced by men. Kasi para sa mga men, their social orientation is positional. They either seek something technical. Parang they seek technical achievement para masabi na nag-succeed sila. They think that being able to be better than anyone else is what defines success. On the other hand, the third concept, which is proposed by Martina Horner, the motive to avoid success, is upheld by women. Now, hear me out. Hindi ibig sabihin na sinabing avoid success ay directly na ina-avoid ng mga women ang success. They can still achieve technical success, pero para sa mga women, there's something deeper rather than technical competition and achievement. Para sa kanila, the concept of avoiding success revolves around that there is something more important and that personal success can be achieved from it. Kasi the conflicts of success here, kasi meron tayong heightened perception of success na ina-achieve natin technically, pero at the cost of our emotions. Isang magandang halimbawa nito ay ang citation ni Erikson sa buhay ni George Bernard Shaw, wherein na-achieve niya yung technical success and naging successful siya dun sa field of specialty niya, pero feeling niya na imbes na itong success na ito or itong achievement na ito ang tumutulak sa kanya pataas, parang ito pa raw yung nagre-restrict sa kanya. So in that sense, yung theory ni George Sasson says that there is something rotten in state, na wherein technical success doesn't guarantee you that certain happiness or pleasure. So bakit ko ba nabanggit to? Kasi in the life of pleasure, we demand or we want to have a lot of things. And dito sa isang theory na to na nakapresent sa analytical essay ni Carol Gilligan, pinapakita yung overall image ng context about success. Life of pleasure isn't bad at all. You can buy what you want, you can achieve what you want, pero nakikita natin dito sa theories nila McClellan, Martina Horner, and Georgia Sassen, as well na rin si Erickson, that the life of pleasure is different from both sexes, and that the life of pleasure often includes or involves the treading over others, which is very, very contradicting to the concept of a good life, which was proposed by or stated by A.C. Grayling. So ngayon na na-discuss na natin yung moral life and life of pleasure based sa mga various philosophers and experts, what is the fulfilled life? Well, in fact, the fulfilled life is an integration of both the moral life and the life of pleasure. Kasi kung titingnan nyo, sa discussion ng partner ko kanina, the moral life itself has its flaws kung yun lang ang papansinin natin, at ganun rin sa life of pleasure. Kumbaga, too much of each side can immensely affect us, and therefore we won't be able to achieve that good life. Kailangan maging balance tayo sa pagiging compassionate and therefore being able to please ourselves. Doon nagmumula ang flourishing wherein we help people and take achievements for our own selves. Therefore, what you may consider a fulfilled life, living a life that you consider morally right, you tend to seek pleasure from it. And being able to uphold your own morals while achieving or while being able to achieve technical and or personal success, you feel fulfilled from that.
Last on the list is living a meaningful life. Human suffering stems from their ignorance as well. That if they continue to see life through a self-centered lens, finding valuable things to help them progress in life will be impossible. To live a good life, you must find meaning in it. The true meaning of why you are alive in this world. The solution is enlightenment and the holistic point of view. Understanding why we are born will help us to live a more rewarding life. Before a human person transcends and goes into self-actualization, he must fulfill certain needs. One of these is social belonging and considers himself as part of a group. A sense of belonging is essential for our happiness and satisfaction in life. It provides us with a sense of purpose and meaning, and we think this is the purpose of society. Why there's a society and community in the first place? It is to make an individual belong and accepted as part of a whole. In our community, we socialize and play a specific role. This role must be fulfilled for us to feel that we are worthy, and there is a meaning to why we are doing all of these things in the first place. However, some groups seems to forget that every individual is different, and they tend to apply the idea that every individual must conform to the same standards that it turns out to hinders the individuality of a human being. One of the social groups is religion. Yes, you heard it right, religion. Religion can sometimes be the reason why our world is bad and life is difficult. The doctrine of some religious institutions are insensitive to the diversity of human lives. Every person is born into our world with a unique set of goals and paths to follow in order to demonstrate their own brand of goodness. As Mr. A.C. Grayling have stated, we all have unique talents and abilities. We are not the same. And maybe if we're all kinder and more accepting of one another, we'll see each of us living our lives the way we wanted to, in accordance to our own meaning. And with that, we all can live our own meaning of meaningful life. Meaningful life, in my opinion, is something that is close to achieving and living my goals. To be more specific, it's when once I am finished with my studies and put what I've learned into practice, where I can help a lot of people and make myself beneficial for our world and in our society. Maybe that's when the time where I can say that I am living my meaningful life. How about you, Jethro? What is meaningful life for you?
Ako? Well, para sa akin, hindi pare-pareho ang meaningful life para sa lahat ng tao. Kasi in order to give meaning to one's life, you have to do what is in line with your beliefs, your personality, and in your own uniqueness. You can't say that a life of a certain person is yours. Hindi mo pwede gawing meaningful ang buhay mo, which is derived from other people's lives. The only way to have a meaningful life is to be able to unique in your own way, is to be able to achieve flourishing and achievement in your own uniqueness, and therefore being able to have a good impact on your relations towards other people. Remember that having a meaningful life is based on your choice, and everyone is given a choice. Whatever you are today or whoever you are today is based on your choice and nobody else's. Pwede kang ma-influence ng ibang tao, pero you can only have direct access to your own life and those closest to you, kaya choice really matters. So therefore, to be able to have a meaningful life, you must treasure your life fully based doon sa iyong natural self and not based on the image of you doon sa mga ibang tao. So, ang dami nating na-discuss, pero how do we sum everything up? Are we truly able to live a good life in a bad world?
Actually, we can. Kasi despite the bad influences all around the world, each of us is capable of making a choice. Ikaw ba, Jetro? Do you think that you are able to live a good life despite the pandemic?
Now that you've mentioned it, actually naging conflicted ako nung una, lalo na nung nagsisimula pa lang yung lockdown. I went out sometimes, following the pandemic protocols, pero somehow I still felt guilty. And sa discussion na ito, dun ko na-realize na nagkaroon ako ng self-conflict dahil may imbalance ako ng wanting to please my wants over what I should believe in or what I believe that should be done. Also, the pandemic has put a lot of pressure and constrictions on us ever since it started. How did you face it?
Well, as for me, I face life bravely despite of this pandemic, trying to live the life I want while still abiding by laws, following rules and making sure I'm not making life difficult for others.
And kung mapapansin mo, being able to help others while being able to help ourselves, being able to help ourselves while being able to help others brings us fulfillment.
True, and we always have that choice to depict our own lives, so we can say that it's a meaningful life. Tama ba?
Oo, tama siya. And in conclusion, the good life is an integration of the fulfilled and a meaningful life. That the happiest life is one in which somebody discovers a life's purpose and uses one's talents.
Agree, and neglecting one of this would contradict the definition of a good life, full of flourishing, achievement, and good social relations.
As in, early Greek philosophies believe that the concept of the good life is a variation on the concept of having a good society.
And lastly, according to Aristotle, good behavior to other people necessitates virtues such as wisdom and self-control. So morality and virtue are important aspects of living a good life.
And that is all for today. We hope that we were able to give a fruitful discussion. Happy New Year, guys!
Bye-bye! Happy New Year!